All right, here we go. It's the Donovan Live Postgame Show on this Thursday evening, our final show of the week with Jimmy Donovan. I'm Dave DiNatale. Happy to have everyone with us. And Jimmy, I'm going to tell you, I got a boatload of phone calls and text messages. People were fired up in the last 24 hours since, I mean, you put that gauntlet down and said, hey, look, as far as I'm concerned, Sam Darnold is my guy to be the next quarterback of the Cleveland Browns.
He is, yeah.
He's your
guy.
And
let me just say this.
Yes.
He is going to be the next quarterback of the Cleveland Browns.
Like it or not. Here, I mean, sample of the responses here. Now, these were not my personal text messages or calls here, but these are what you've had to say. I promised we'd open up the mailbag. Here we go. On Twitter, and you can always tweet the show, by the way, at 3DonovanLive. Jimmy, I think Josh Allen is better as an all-around quarterback, in my opinion. Also, if we wait, and there were multiple people have said this, couldn't we get Allen and Barkley both in the first round, get your running back and your quarterback?
If we wait.
If we take Barkley at 1 and okay, go Allen at 4 is what Zach is saying.
I don't know how high they are on Josh Allen. Okay, yeah. I think they're very high on Darnold, to the point where I think I think now they may shift to, what are we going to do at number 4?
Yeah.
That's where I think they are. And, you know, I was around the building this week, and that's the impression that I got. As they were going out to L.A., they were ready to be convinced that Sam Darnold was the guy, and they could move on to, 4 more significant picks.
Right.
But number 4 being next. Yes, you could do that. I just don't think that they are going to do that. The interesting thing now, Dino, is that there are 2 things that could happen here. The Giants could take Barkley at number 2.
Yes.
Or Barkley could fall.
Yes.
He could tumble a little bit in the first round and go down to 6. Or, 6 is now the Colts.
Right.
And I would think that could be a destination place for him. I do not think Denver would get involved.
No, I don't think so.
I don't think that, I think the Jets went up to get a quarterback. I think we're going to take a quarterback. So I think that he could fall a little bit, or he could go to the Giants at 2.
If he doesn't go to the Giants at 2, I think it's either the Colts,
or
Tampa Bay. If Indianapolis didn't scoop him up.
I think you're right. Those would be the 2 spots that I could see him going.
From Debbie, Jim, I have to disagree with you. It's got to be Baker Mayfield. He's a winner. He played in big games. He knows how to win. He has, and I love it, she capitalized moxie. He has moxie, attitude, identity, and he's verbal enough to say that he's the one to turn the Browns around. I've watched Darnold. He's a project, and what has he won? Zilch.
Yeah. Well, I think he did win a Rose Bowl. He's 20-4 as a starter at Southern Cal. And I don't think his Southern Cal team this year was as good as the Southern Cal team he had in his first year. He didn't have Juju Smith-Schuster. He had lost him. The Steelers, of course, had taken him in the NFL. So now, Baker Mayfield, no question about it. He got them into the Final Four.
Yeah.
And, got them into the playoff, and he was a big part of that. Here are the things. I think the physical part is going to enter in big to this whole picture. And Mayfield is a bit on the short side, as far as his height is concerned. Darnold and Allen are both on that 6'4", 6'5" level, and I think that's where these guys want to be. Mayfield, he does have bravado. There's no question about it.
In bunches.
Yep. So, I mean, that is something that hits you right in the smack in the face when you meet him. And certainly when he appeared in front of the media at the Combine, that's the story he was telling. I'll be the guy that can take your franchise. No question about it. That's an interesting thing, and there is the fire, I think, that he has. And I think that's his biggest calling card, is his competitiveness and his fire. I think his size scares some people, and I think the Browns have had short quarterbacks here, in a couple of ways. Cody Kessler, kind of a smaller quarterback. Manziel, very, very small quarterback. RG3, kind of a shorter quarterback. I think they would like to have a guy that can see over the line of scrimmage a little bit better, and that's why I think they're really kind of not resigned. I think they're very excited about having the opportunity to not have to play the game and go get Sam Darnold.
Yeah. Now, I've had a bunch of people say, well, Darnold makes me nervous. Maybe it's because of the turnovers. He did have quite a few. The turnovers, others are saying, well, he's a California kid. He's a West Coast guy, and West Coast guys shouldn't be playing in the cold of Cleveland. I mean, those types of things. But this is why the Browns do their due diligence, and certainly why you've hired Hugh Jackson to be your head coach. Because this is what you work through this stuff through time and training, and that's why you're also not going to play him right away.
Yeah, like Carson Palmer was a USC quarterback, and he went to Cincinnati, and he played very, very effectively there for a period of time. Anyway, until he got hurt in the playoff game. That's right, Chemo von Oelhoffen went into his knee, wasn't it? Andy Dalton's from Texas.
Right.
All right, and, he was able to, and is having a nice career down there. I don't get the California connection. Maybe a little bit. If you were saying to me, Josh Rosen is a California guy, I would say, amen, you're right about that. I mean, or at least he acts that way. But I don't think that there's any attitude problems here or the fact that he's timid about, coming here and playing in this kind of climate. I think that he's got a great arm. That beats the wind and the rain and the sleet all the time. So I really do understand what people are saying, and I really think that there is a quarterback fear here.
Yeah.
Would you say?
Yeah,
because we've been burned.
I think
we're like the
exactly
guy. We're like the girl or the guy that's been jilted on Match.com.
That's right.
Okay, I get it. I really do. But at some point, we're gonna get this thing right.
Yes, there will be a match. Meanwhile, you mentioned this the other day that while the Browns, the quarterback room, they're going to have the rookie. We think Sam Darnold, and they're going to have Tyrod Taylor as your he hates it, but the bridge quarterback. Your thought was at some point the Browns might look at another guy to almost ensure that Sam Darnold won't have to play in year one, so that you don't have to force him into it. And it's interesting, a name that kind of has come up in the last 12 hours or so, Drew Stanton. Yeah, I know you've got some info on it.
Yeah, there was a report from ESPN saying that he was visiting the Browns, but he did not visit the Browns. He did bump into the Browns.
He bumped into them, yes.
Hey, how you doing?
Hey, Drew.
Hey, guess what? Yeah. I just happen to have 5 footballs with me that I'll throw for you. Right. Drew Stanton, former Michigan State guy. He's been out in Arizona. And the Browns, they ran into Stanton when they've been on this West Coast swing now of taking a look at Darnold and the quarterback search has been going on. So they apparently had some conversation with him. But I think whatever happens, whether it's Stanton.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
A guy like him, 30, early 30s, he's been in the wars. His job can be to work with Darnold. And in that quarterback room. Here's what, while Tyrod Taylor is kind of working on the game plan, okay, Sam, here's what you need to take from what you just saw on the board or what you just saw in the video.
Right, and I think that this is going to happen. This would be a good move, I think. This really would be a wise move because like we said last night, I think it was last night we were talking about this, remember now, you're going to pick the quarterback at number 1, and the plan is not to play him, okay, to let him learn the game the right way and then put him in at the right time, not before he's ready to go. But you have a running quarterback that's going to be your declared starter in Tyrod Taylor.
Right.
I mean, part of his game, a big part of his game is his athleticism and his speed. He's going to move the pocket around. When you do that, and I mean, he got hurt in the playoff game.
Yes, he did.
And he also got hurt at some point during the Buffalo Bills season.
Yeah.
I mean, you risk the fact that a quarterback is going to get hurt. Now, if that happened and you didn't have the proper protection as far as depth in the quarterback room, now you're going to put Darnold in, and now we're doing it all over again. Okay? But if you have somebody else, now what this is not good news for would be Cody Kessler and Kevin Hogan.
Correct.
Right.
But it makes sense.
It does.
Somebody who's still has a little gas in the tank, but besides being the insurance policy for Tyrod Taylor, it's a guy who can focus a lot more on being a mentor and who understands he's the backup.
Absolutely.
Not that Tyrod Taylor said, hey, look, I'll do what I can, but my job is going to be to get this team ready to win on Sundays.
Exactly.
Okay,
yeah.
problem solved.
Yeah.
So we'll keep an eye on that. Again,
keep in mind this, too, Dino. They still have $75 million to spend.
Yeah.
So, I mean, they're in the market for Allen Hurns.
Yep.
they're in the market for a quarterback, whether it's Stanton or somebody else out there that wants to be a part of this process, they still have some money to spend that they can go out and do this. Now, John Dorsey a couple of weeks ago said he's going to spend it all.
Yes.
So there are going to be some more moves made here.
Interesting, that the Browns really weren't in on Terrelle Pryor at this point. Did you kind of find that interesting? That it seems like Seattle, and I can't remember the other team that I think was in on him. I know Seattle's one of them. It was interesting. But that they didn't, after they got Jarvis Landry. It's like, okay, maybe for right now we're good at receiver.
Yeah. In looking, I would take Allen Hurns before I would take Pryor.
Really? Okay.
Yeah, I really would.
There you go.
I think I would. Pryor now. What you're doing there is, and you're looking for some streamline of success, and you would say, well, he played well. He made a connection with Hugh Jackson in Oakland, and then, in Cincinnati a little bit, and then definitely here in Cleveland. And he really had a good vibe with the receivers coach, Al Saunders, who is now more in an advisory role.
Right.
There's a different receiver coach here. But I mean, Al Saunders is still around, and he did a great job with Terrelle, but he's coming off ankle surgery. And I think that, again, people are telling me, Dino, it's like he's listed his house too high. He's asking for too much money for what his performance is. For some reason, whether it's the agent, okay, and I think it's Drew Rosenhaus, isn't it?
Yeah, I believe so.
All right. At least it was at one point. He wants a lot of money, but he hasn't got a lot to put down on paper, especially at wide receiver, and he had a blank year last year.
Right.
He had a great year in Cleveland the year before that, but he had a bad year last year in Washington and then got hurt, and it's kind of hard to commit that kind of money.
Absolutely. Okay, from the NFL and the Browns to what we saw last night at the Q. Cavaliers, Jimmy, they gave up 79 points in the first half.
That was a record, wasn't it?
Yeah. And, I mean, they were down 15. You're sitting there going, ooh, this is really bad. And, boy, third quarter, they locked Toronto down. They only allowed 20 points in the quarter. And we were worried about the fourth quarter. They're going to be able to run out of steam. Well, they were able to get the baskets when they needed to, and it's nice to have Kevin Love back to help out. And they ended up getting, I thought, a pretty significant win last night.
Oh, I think it might have been one of their best wins of the year, if not the best win of the year. The other thing, it tells Toronto up here.
Yes.
I don't know. Can we beat these guys?
Yeah.
I mean, can we beat them in a best-of-7 series? And can we beat them in here?
Right.
Now, I know they beat them by 34 points up in Toronto in January, but that's when the Cavs were in that January funk that they always go into. But still, I think that it was a physical win, but there was a lot of mental part to this win, too, that Toronto blew a big lead. Dino, I got to tell you, as you mentioned about the lack of scoring by Toronto in the third quarter, but in the first 6 or 7 minutes of that third quarter, I believe the Raptors missed about 7 layups.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, then that lead went away. I mean, it went away. And I really do believe that Toronto left Cleveland with a little doubt.
Yeah. To me, it was the equivalent of right before the playoffs started last year, the Cavs beat the Celtics. They went out into the Garden and beat the Celtics. And I thought that set the tone for the playoffs. Now, the Cavs still have to play Toronto again. We'll see how that goes. I mean, the other thing that was amazing is the Cavs did all that last night. They had 6 players in double figures with 5 rotation guys out of the lineup. No Nance, no Thompson, no Korver, no Osman, no Hood. And they still won the game.
Yeah, and I think we're getting a glimpse of LeBron from, 3 years ago when he first came back and they lost to Golden State in 6 games. And remember, everybody was hurt.
Yeah.
Okay, and that Irving was hurt. Love was hurt in the finals. And LeBron almost single-handedly got them through. They were up 2 games to 1.
They were up 2-1. I still think if Dellavedova hadn't kind of run, remember after Game 3 back here, he got dehydrated. I mean, he just ran out of steam, and then you weren't getting anything from J.R. Smith or Shumpert, who was also hurt.
Right, but I think what we're seeing is that kind of vintage LeBron thing where he's going to say, hey, listen, I'm going to pull us through this and get us to the playoffs. He's having an amazing year. He's played in every game. And it's just unbelievable to watch. I mean, and it just reminds me of a couple of years ago when by the end of that series, LeBron was out of gas.
Yes.
Okay, he was out of gas. Now, I don't know if he can play at this level. I think for some reason, he prepared himself physically more for this year than maybe he was a couple of years ago.
He got some tips from a Navy SEAL, I guess I read, and on how to get himself in proper. I mean, not that he was never not in condition in the first place, but he's been, and maybe also the fact that the league has widened the season a little bit, and there are less back-to-backs and 3 games in 4 nights and things like that. But I think his preparation has changed. I mean, he had 8 assists in the first quarter last night, finished with 17 in the game.
He also finished with no turnovers. Yeah,
I loved it. I mean, that was something real special, and you sit there and you go, wow.
Yeah.
And that's why, the times I've been concerned about the Cavs and things, Dave Chudowski will say, hey, look, as long as LeBron's there, the Cavs aren't going to lose a series. Right. I understand what he means, when you see performances like that.
Yeah, well, Dave's glass is
half
full.
Yeah.
It's like overfulling.
Yes, yeah, especially when it comes to LeBron and the Cavs.
I think Dave plays the movie Hoosiers before he's. Dave mouths,
4 passes.
He mouths the line by Jimmy Chitwood. I'll make it.
Dave, you've got 30 seconds to get to the studio. I'll make it.
Yeah. But I mean, hey, the big takeaway, great win. Crowd had a great time. Yes. Great crowd. I mean, they're down 15 at the half.
Yes.
I mean, giving up 79 points, you're going, wow. This is going to be a 25-point loss. And they come back and they win the game. I'm telling you, mentally, that's got to be right in the minds of the Raptors. I don't care what they say, like, oh, that's all right. It was just a regular season game.
Yeah, right.
I'm telling you, that's going to be in their minds that they blew that lead.
Yeah, it's a lot of it's psychological. So 10 more games of the regular season until we get to the playoffs. Last thing, speaking of, is countdown to the regular season. The Indians, at least for the moment, their 25-man roster is all set, and Rajai Davis is going to make the team, and we all have a soft spot in our heart, I think, for him because of Game 7 of the World Series. But I think it's a smart move, and we've talked about this. I think you need a guy that can fill in for you in the outfield. Good clubhouse guy, and also
and he can run.
He can run. He can still provide you with some speed.
Right. Yeah. And you don't know what's going to happen out there in that outfield. I mean, you don't know if Zimmer might go through a funk at some point. Right. Remember, he did last year before he got hurt. He went through an awful slump, and at that point, then you might have to make a move and get him out of there and let him. And Francona is great about knowing when to do that and how to get a guy out when a guy is pressing. And Rajai Davis has been through it now. He's been through it. I just think he's a great team guy.
I think he's a great team guy. I think it's a good fit.
You have to have those kind of guys.
And it was nice to see Michael Brantley, do Michael Brantley things last night. There's pressure on him, obviously, because the Indians really gave him that reward of that contract pickup, and it's a lot of money, and you just sit there, but you can't not root for Michael Brantley because he's such a great hitter, and he's a core part of this team.
I could watch him swing all night long.
Yep.
I mean, I just think he's got the most beautiful, efficient swing. Left-handers don't bother him. Right-handers he eats up. He's just a great hitter. He really is. I mean, that is a gift.
Yes.
That's a great, great hitter. And to good health, I mean, the numbers he could put up would be something that they haven't really been able to have in their lineup the last 2 big years that they've been in the postseason.
A guy that you can pretty much pencil in and say, okay, he'll hit between 300 and 315, 320, and he's going to drive in 100 runs. I don't know, home runs, we'll see. He doesn't have to hit home runs.
Yeah.
You have Encarnacion for that. You've got Ramirez for that. You've got other guys for that. But he'll drive in 100 runs if he's in that lineup.
Great 2-out hitter.
Yep.
Keeps innings going. I mean, just really good. And if he's, if he's close to 100% physically, just a great outfielder.
Oh,
tremendous
absolutely.
throwing arm.
Yep.
That's the lost art in baseball nowadays. There are so many major league outfielders that have, wet spaghetti noodle arms.
Yes.
They really are.
Yeah.
Casey Blake, I don't know, told me one time, Casey Blake, when he made that move, when the Indians put him out in right field, and so Chisenhall has had this happen too, but when Casey Blake went out and played in right field, he had this incredible throwing arm, which you kind of knew he had over at third base, but I mean, it's a repetitive throw, something that he does a million times. And I said to him one time, why do you have such a great throwing arm? He said, because And why don't a lot of kids have that? Grady Sizemore had a terrible arm, but he
Right.
was a great athlete. He said kids don't play catch anymore.
There you go. Yeah.
How about that?
Yeah.
It's as simple as that.
Yeah, I mean, when I was a kid, I mean, I played catch. We used to play base runner. You know, guys would try to, steal bases when you throw the ball,
Right.
90 feet to,
Right.
the guy down.
Yeah.
Kids don't. Yeah,
Kids don't play catch, and they don't
catch.
play long toss
No.
and things like that.
Trevor Bauer does, but that's not many kids do.
Right.
All right. Hey, thanks everybody for all your questions in the mailbag for Jimmy. It was fun to do that, and we will see you next time on the Donovan Live Postgame Show. For David Herberton, for Jim Donovan, I'm Dave DiNatale. Thanks for watching here on WKYC's Facebook Live.